What's going on? It's your boy DameSmiff, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about what we can learn from Doge as musicians and really how it affects us going forward into the future and really the mindset you need to have with what we have learned from Doge. So if you would like, you can hit the like button and make sure you subscribed here because we will be discussing a lot of different topics, especially if you're a musician, that help keep you informed up on things, maybe current events or some things that you need to keep up on in terms of your own career. And so let's first take a moment to really think about what is the thing that Doge is trying to do. So, Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, is an initiative of the second Trump administration, right? And basically, an initiative is just a movement. They're just trying to do a thing as a group, and we've all initialized the movement, okay? And so its purpose is to carry out spending cuts and to modernize federal technology and software to maximize governmental efficiency and productivity. So, in a nutshell, in a basic sense, they want to carry out spending cuts. Basically, if you were running a record label and you found out that one of your artists was spending, let's say, $1,000 a week on renting cars, right? Maybe they rented cars for whatever reason, right? And that's cool, right? That's within the budget. But then you realize that you don't have enough money for props for your next music video. So you start to do an audit, and all an audit is simply just a peek into where all the money's going, right? So if you do a bunch of shows throughout the year and you make a bunch of money, what do you spend that money on? Right? And so finding that information is exactly what an audit is. And so you do an audit on your artists and you realize that they're renting the cars for $1,000 a week for no reason at all. So really they're just driving them. Like for whatever reason they come up with, it doesn't bring any value to the business. And so it's an expense that doesn't get you any type of, benefit. So like let's say if you were renting the car for music videos, that would be cool because you would put the car in the music video and then we make the video and then we could sell the video. That's pretty cool, right? But if you're renting a car and then you just take it to your friend's house and then you and your friends go shopping and then y'all just drive to your other friend's house and then y'all check out other stores to shop at and then you drop the car back off, that didn't really help us. Now, there is a way you can make it help, is where if you can rent the car, pick up your friends, go shopping, and maybe take pictures for social media in front of the car. Then you can say maybe you're making content, right? But if you're just spending money for the sake of spending money, it's not a good idea, right? And so that's what essentially you would do when you're looking for a spending cut. And so you would cut that out or find a better way to use that money, right? And the next thing that it says it's doing is to modernize federal technology and software to maximize governmental efficiency and productivity. A lot of big words, right? Simple way to put it is all they're doing is they're going to find newer, maybe innovative ways to be faster and smarter to get the results that they want. Now, let's put it back in record label terms, right? Let's say you're an artist in your record label and you just got signed, right? And you go to the studio, they book you a studio session, right? And you get into the studio and these guys are using they're using tape, like actual like cassette tapes to record with, right? And you're like, "Oh, snap. Whoa, what's going on here?" And you realize that the reason they're doing that is because they're just being traditional or conventional. They're like, this is just, the greats have always used tape and recorded on tape. And this is just what we do here. And they can't give you a reason outside of it being a cultural tradition. So then what do you do in that moment? Do you then deal with recording on tape in the year 2025, or do you find a better and more efficient way to get your product? And that's the key thing that they're trying to do here, okay? And so that can look like a lot of different things, and there can be a lot of different struggles that come with that. And so we can look at, the details, like what really should be cut and what should be kept and things like that, but it's really down to what specifically works for you, right? And when you're working in a group, especially like a band or a record label or even like a department of a record label, these are very important things that you want to have laid out so everybody can be on the same page. And so that kind of integrity, that kind of like clarity is something that many people kind of struggle to nurture because it's something that takes work to do, and it takes very particular work. And we're going to go through a little bit of how that looks for musicians. So when we're thinking about spending cuts, think about it in a way that's kind of like not going on a diet, but more so learning what foods work better for you. Okay. And so when people usually think about money, they usually tie some kind of like emotion to it, right? Like for me, I like buying like video games and like food and stuff like that, right? It makes me feel good. And if I can't do it, then I would think in my mind, I would probably pursue more money to be able to, right? And so what then happens is, what if I run into a situation where eating a certain, like going out to restaurants is something I can no longer do in order to fit into my idea of success? Would I resist that, or would I actually like pursue and apply that to see if it even works to get the success that I say I want, right? And this is where being on the same page as a group comes into play. So you could have a band of people, and then you all want success, but what does it look like for each of you, right? So your drummer, his success could be like having like 3 cars, a mansion, and living a bachelor lifestyle, whereas your lead singer, she wants to have a family and kind of like chill out in like 3 or 4 years, And so when you're trying to figure that out as a group, it's important to have things like a Doge, or have like some kind of like process in place for this clarity, or to get this kind of clarity. And so now we can look at things in a linear fashion when you're understanding everybody's on the same page. So now that you know that maybe one of your artists wants to start a family, but another artist wants to, make the most money or be famous or get the most status or clout, from your performance, you know what you can work with, what you're working within, if that makes sense. What people are willing to deal with, and what kind of cultural norms you can build with one another. So it wouldn't really make sense to have your drummer, trying to do family type events if he's not trying to be that type of drummer. But if you can find a blend between family events that are more party style, then you can find gigs that work for both of them, right? There's a lot of ways you can make that work. And this is where spending cuts kind of will shine for a lot of people, because now you can cut back on maybe travel, you can cut back on certain kinds of gigs, certain lifestyle habits that come with certain gigs. For example, if you play at a lot of bars, people tend to buy food. It just is what it is. Like there's a kitchen there. But if you play at like intimate concert, events with like 10 attendees or something, or 15 attendees, usually the food is very niche, or you already ate, or there is no food. That's usually how that goes. And so when you're thinking about all of these different things that can come together and make one piece, one symphony come together, you're going to need something like a Doge, because it's going to have to bring very, 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 very clear communication for your bandmates, your record label team, whoever you're working with, your graphic designer, it doesn't matter who it is. You're going to have to be on the same page, and you're all going to have to know what you're working with. There's no point in This would be like opening a refrigerator and not knowing what food is in there, but you're starving. So you'll just wind up throwing anything together because it just sounds good or it tastes good or whatever. So, and the next thing would be like when you're thinking about modernizing and stuff like that. I used to be a person that was like, I think most musicians should learn theory. I think most musicians or producers or writers or songwriters, if you're going to be in the music industry, you should know the language. And more in reality, I started to see that that wasn't necessarily a principle that everybody held. You didn't need to know the language. You didn't need to speak the theory in order to be successful or to get some sort of success. And that can be cool, and it comes with its issues, which is why a lot of people do resist modernizing and making change and things like that. But the thing that you have to understand when it comes to this kind of concept is that it's usually for the better. Like most people don't gravitate towards things that suck. Well, most, common sense people don't gravitate towards things that'll, ruin their lives or um, be painful or horrible and things like that. Usually we are attracted to like when people are introducing AI into their music, we try to find fun ways to use it and things like that. When people are using new concepts like collaborating with new artists and things like that, they try to find ways to make it beneficial. They don't necessarily do it because they don't like each other. And I think that's one of the things that you're going to have to, once you apply the mindset of modernizing the things you're working on or um, working on efficiency, then you'll learn to appreciate the actual change because you're looking at the benefit versus the difference between old and new. But if this is cool to you guys, let me know if this was a dope conversation. It's just a little peek into what Doge is and how it kind of like could change your mindset about the future as a musician, and maybe kind of like put you in the position to ask certain questions when you are doing business as a musician, or maybe the next contract you read, you'll think about some of the results you're looking for when it comes to a contract. But make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Your boy is here, DameSmiff. This is another late night at Dames. We're out.